Hey, I'm here with Bill Sweet, who is a financial advisor at Ritholtz Wealth Management, and you are also, as of this year, our CFO.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Certified financial officer.
Let's do it.
Chief financial officer. I asked Bill to talk a little bit about a new change in the tax rule that will impact most investors or investors who are paying investment management fees. And I wanted Bill to kind of explain what is going to be different and what's going to be the same, and what people need to be aware of, as they're investing and as they're working with managers. So how did things used to work, and how are they changing?
Yeah, so I was an early critic of the new tax law. Was pretty frustrated at a lot of the changes that came down, but ultimately came around because ultimately the majority of Americans are going to pay less tax. But this is one place that was not fixed. I think it's mainly because individual investors don't really seem to have good lobby groups. Architects and engineers got a bone thrown at them at the last minute, whereas individual investors did not. And so in the past, we were able to deduct investment management fees.
You say we, and a regular investor is able to deduct and put them in Schedule A as a miscellaneous cost.
You got it. Miscellaneous itemized deductions, not just for investment management fees, but tax preparation fees, investment interest fees. So a large bucket.
So they're paying professionals.
You got it.
And then they're deducting the cost from their taxes of what they're paying those professionals.
It makes sense. In theory, if you're working with a professional, we certainly advocate that we're going to improve your after-tax returns. So the cost of that used to be deductible.
Okay.
And as part of the new tax law, so effective 2018 all the way up through 2025, when this provision does actually expire, we're no longer able to deduct those fees on our individual tax returns. Does not affect businesses. There's some debate whether it affects trusts and estates right now that hasn't been settled. But as an individual investor, I can no longer deduct my investment expense costs.
Okay. So what is their recourse? Is there anything they can do that will help them at all, or it's just a new reality and people have to get used to it?
Yeah, unfortunately the latter at this time. I really don't see a lot of tax reform changes coming in 2018, 2019, given the current state of affairs and how much effort went into getting this passed at the last minute. So it's a new reality that we have to live with. I think the silver lining, though, is that the deduction, frankly, wasn't worth a whole lot. There were a lot of limitations on who could take this cost. So as an example, you had to itemize. It turns out if you double the standard deduction, a lot fewer investors end up itemizing. Met with a client today that was a client of the firm, relatively high net worth, a wealthy individual. They're going to be filing a standard deduction for at least the foreseeable future, meaning that even if this was a deductible expense, they probably wouldn't be able to take advantage of it anyway. Furthermore, it really just ended up reducing costs in a relatively minor way. To put things in context, for roughly about $1 million on an 80 basis point fee, it's about an $8,000 a year cost that hopefully your advisor is earning that every year by providing that amount of services. The tax deduction was worth right around $1,000 on that. So effectively,
so it's not like you were deducting the whole amount. You were deducting a portion of it, and that portion is of a portion, and it ends up not really changing very much on the ground.
Correct. For our clients, on average, about 9 basis points for the folks that I look at and keep data on. So it's not to say that's not a real after-tax cost. Small costs do matter. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that given that we don't have a lot of control over this, it's much better to focus on things that we can control.
Bill, thank you for explaining that to us, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks.